everyone, I'm Tiffany Chapuzio Wong. I'm a technical marketing engineer with Aruba Networks, and welcome to Ansible Fest. As you know, the world of networking and automation is ever growing and ever changing, and our networks and operations need to move at way higher speeds. So concepts such as infrastructure or even network as code and CI/CD, these are extremely critical for building a proper network infrastructure. So today, I'll be talking to you about those concepts and how you can use them to help build and manage your network using Ansible. Don't forget, just because we're virtual again this year, that does not mean we can't engage. So please use the chat, ask questions, provide comments, and we'll be monitoring all throughout Ansible Fest. So, we've been talking to customers for years about the importance of network automation. And at this point, our customers know that they need to be automating. And for the most part, it seems like they've already have. So that's left our customers asking, well, now what? Okay. They've completed the basics and they've got some workflows automated and they're saying, okay, what do we need to do next? So I always say, all right, let's take a step back and start looking at our entire network infrastructure and these processes and really analyze where can we improve efficiency. So taking a look at your processes and see which ones are dependent on one another and how much human interaction is there. Could things be more efficient? And I'll bet that most likely the answer is yes. So in order to do so, in order to build our network and maintain it as efficiently as possible, not only are we using programming technologies, this means that we also should be adapting programming methodologies and more so thinking like a programmer. This means adapting such concepts such as infrastructure as code. Well, what is infrastructure as code, you might ask? Well, IAC, or even network as code, is the concept of managing and provisioning of infrastructure through code instead of thinking of things or executing things through a manual process. We begin to think of network operations as applications. And good news is you're sort of already doing it. I mean, you're at Ansible Fest. So whether you're considering Ansible as an automated solution or you have Ansible implemented, or at least like considering doing so, you are already thinking in a way of moving from that manual process to something more automated. So instead of manually provisioning devices or manually upgrading them, you've automated these processes and therefore implementing network as code. So what's necessary to be successful with IAC? First and foremost, the solutions that you select, right? There's a ton of different languages, tools, and platforms out there that can help you automate your network, each of them providing its own set of capabilities. But again, in order for us to really implement infrastructure as code, in order for those different processes to talk to one another, we need a way for them to do that. And to do so, you need things such as open APIs or even SDKs, so the software-defined kits. We need to have this ability in order for us to programmatically interact with whatever solution you provide. And at the very least, you know, a lot of tools out there provide Python support. And Python is very powerful and easily integrated into Ansible as well. So that is definitely something to consider. While you're looking at these tools and frameworks and languages, please consider solutions that fit the future business needs and not so much what works for you right now. If maybe you're looking at your environment and saying we don't have enough support or maybe we don't have enough resources, advocate for that and ask for it because it's going to save you a lot in the long run. Another huge crucial a portion of being successful with IAC is to have conversations between organizations. Define a plan that consolidates on tools and architecture so it all works cohesively. Now that we have a better understanding of what IAC is, next let's go to the big whammy of continuous integration and continuous delivery, also known as continuous deployment as well. So this is a way of approaching app development that's very popular in DevOps. This is the idea being that in order to deliver code and applications to consumers, we need to deliver that as efficiently as possible. And in order to do so, processes are in place for developers to regularly build, test, commit, and publish code. So for the continuous integration portion, we really want to build and test new code or changes that's being developed to ensure its quality and to prevent developers from having code that conflicts with one another or completely breaks things, right? For continuous delivery, we essentially want to create a system where it takes minimal effort to deploy new code or new changes by automatically releasing developers' changes to production for consumption. This addresses the problem of manual processes that take too long, slowing down delivery of finished product, and human errors and human interaction causing that bottleneck to happen. And instead of that, we have these processes happen automatically, which expedites the efficiency. This creates a more agile environment. This creates an environment capable of making small changes in a faster, more accurate manner, while simultaneously limiting the impact on developers as well as consumers. Because at the end of the day, what we really want to do is just make life better for that end user. And this is exactly what we want to do in our network operations. You can see here I have this CI/CD pipeline. We have our plan and planning portion, and this is the part where you would most likely define your IPs, your network topology, and kind of scope out what your network is going to look like. Then we jump into the coding process where you start defining your configuration templates or even writing those playbooks and scripts that you're going to be executing in your environment. Then we test, right? We validate in a lab environment, ensure that our automations are successful and they're predictable exactly the way we'd like them to be. Once we're confident in that, we deliver. We push out to production, and at that point, we want to ensure that everything is stable and all is clear. So we monitor, we verify the network health, and we report any issues in real time. So talking about the benefits here, I mean, if you can only imagine, this creates a ton of more stability and reliability into our network. Deployment goes from weeks or days to just hours with this expedited process. And not only that, but network operators can also react faster to issues and roll back if any errors occur. And finally, this provides a better network for end users, right? We have less headaches for operators. And in the event that anything happens, we have these automated processes in place to ensure that our network stays stable and reliable and up as much as possible. So our customers see this, they see the advantage, they understand the benefits, and now they're asking, okay, this is a lot, but where do we start? At the end of the day, again, we want to take a step back and analyze the processes in your environment and see which ones can be triggered through one another. There are a lot of different options for solutions, so I'm just going to walk through a customer scenario that we had earlier this year. So we had a retail customer that approached us and said, how would you create, or how would you go through building a CI/CD pipeline? And this is our requirements, but this is what we have, right? We have NetBox, which is a popular open source IPAM solution, and that's what they primarily use for their site planning. And again, they were Aruba Central customers, which Aruba Central is a cloud networking solution provided by Aruba Networks. So they had these two tools and solutions, and they're asking us, how can we make our device onboarding part of a CI/CD pipeline? Well, first, in order to create the CI/CD pipeline, we need to implement or create an orchestrator of some sorts. And basically someone to go through between these processes and basically start each one to stop and know which one the other is finished. And that is why we proposed Jenkins. So now Jenkins is a very well-known tool for implementing CI/CD, and it incorporates a suite of plugins which allows it to support the implementation and integration with a lot of different tools. So Jenkins basically acts as that automation engine, like I mentioned before, whose primary purpose is to orchestrate the continuous integration and launch that continuous delivery. Jenkins has the ability to interact with Docker containers, either by dynamically creating or destroying the containers on a needed basis, or by interacting with a singular container node that's constantly running. And so we've got that continuous integration piece settled. Now, how do we tackle that continuous delivery? Well, if you could guess it, for our solution, we proposed Ansible. As you may know, integrating Ansible into anything is pretty easy. With its wide range of vendor and community support, automating your continuous deployment with Ansible is easy and super efficient. So with this settled, what does our device onboarding CI/CD pipeline actually look like? Well, this is it. So you can see here, we're using NetBox to plan out our site's network. Network, again, is super popular for its IPAM and network automation capabilities. Now, when planning a site in NetBox, I would set the site from being planned to active. Once I do that, that actually sends a webhook to our Jenkins instance. And from there, Jenkins knows that it's time to deploy. So in our environment, it made more sense to keep the Ansible container in a continuously running state and simply just point Jenkins to the container to run our Ansible playbook. So Jenkins will go ahead and retrieve that information of the site from NetBox and pass that information to Ansible, where Ansible will use that information from the NetBox site to go ahead and deploy and create these sites and devices within our Aruba Central instance. Now, we also use a HashiCorp lookup plugin for Vault, and this is basically where we stored the credentials to Aruba Central that we use to make those API calls. So now I wanted to kind of show you what our automation infrastructure, or what this lightweight CI/CD automation infrastructure looks like. So here we have all of these tools, Jenkins, NetBox, Ansible. They're all continuously running as containers within this VM. And again, this kind of shows how lightweight your CI/CD implementation can really be. Obviously, be mindful of your resources and your scalability of your environment. But if you're just looking to dabble into it, it's really as simple as this. Everything here is open source and can be and is all containerized as well. So now let's see this in action. So here is NetBox, and as you can see, we have a lot of options for device management and IP address management. By selecting sites, you can see I have one site planned here, and that is my Aruba Roseville site. Selecting this site, you can also see that I have 2 devices planned for this site and their information. So before I set this site to active, let me first go ahead and show you Aruba Central. So here is my Aruba Central instance, and checking out our sites, we don't see any Aruba Roseville sites as of yet, but let's go ahead and change that. So returning to our NetBox, I'm going to go ahead and change this site from planned to now active. And once I save that, that'll go ahead and send that webhook to our Jenkins instance. Opening up Jenkins and opening up our Open Blue Ocean view, you can see that now that job has started. And by selecting on this job, we can drill down and see all the portions of this workflow and their results. So here in this configure site portion of the workflow, this is where I launched that Ansible playbook to actually send those REST API calls to Aruba Central. Jenkins is neat. We can see the output of that Ansible playbook call. And just like that, within 25 seconds, this workflow has completed. Checking out our Aruba Central instance and doing a quick refresh. Let's go ahead and see. And yep, looks like we got our Aruba Roseville site added. And looks like we've got 2 APs. And checking out those devices. Yep, it looks like they're online and available in Aruba Central. All right. And just like that, in a mere matter of seconds, our devices, our site went ahead from being planned to active, and now those devices are completely up and deployed and online and available in Central. So just like that, impressive, but I bet you're asking, well, what's next? Again, the possibilities are endless. And, I really want to continue to reiterate, evaluate your processes and try and consider the best solutions for you. But most importantly, start automating. So the next things I would definitely urge you to consider is the concept of source code management, right? Now, source code management is essentially the use of a system. Git is probably the most popular, well-known SCM system, and essentially you would use that source code management system to keep track of the state in which your network configurations or even your templates are in, right? And this workflow would be that if any changes are either pushed or committed into your repository, that will trigger Jenkins to push out that configuration update, or at the very least, run an audit across your systems to validate the conformity between devices. Then we have telemetry and automated issue remediation. I feel like this is one of the most crucial pieces to ensuring your network stability and reliability. This is how you can get notified of network issues as soon as they happen. You can have service tickets created automatically with device debug information attached in the event that a network issue occurred. This is pretty simple to be done if you utilize the resources of products that have capabilities of webhook or even WebSocket APIs. And again, as always, like I mentioned before, your possibilities with automation are only limited by your resources and imagination. So sky's the limit. So here are just some resources that we use in the development of this, the CI/CD pipeline. And that about wraps it up for me today. So thank you all for joining us in today's Ansible Fest session. Please don't forget to put any questions or comments in the chat. And as always, happy automating.